Well, JD Vance was not interviewed, but interrogated once again by Margaret Brennan on NBC. And if you don't remember, she was the moderator who tried to fact check JD in the vice presidential debate, and he made her pay for that. Well, she apparently hasn't had enough and came back for more. And in this case, she tried to trap JD, who is a Catholic, with a question about the U.S. Catholic bishops coming out this past week and taking an official stance against the Trump administration's immigration policies. JD handles this masterfully and both calls out the U.S. Catholic bishops and shuts Brennan down here. This is good, but it's important to remember that this is not just a Catholic problem. This is a problem for all of us who are Christian. Check this out.
The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops this week condemned some of the executive orders signed by President Trump, specifically those allowing immigration and customs enforcement to enter churches and to enter schools. Do you personally support the idea of conducting a raid or enforcement action in a church service, at a school?
Well, let me address this. Of course, if you have a person who is convicted of a violent crime, whether they're an illegal immigrant or a non-illegal immigrant, you have to go and get that person to protect the public safety. That's not unique to immigration. But let me just address this particular issue, Margaret, because as a practicing Catholic, I was actually heartbroken by that statement. And I think that the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops needs to actually look in the mirror a little bit and recognize that when they receive over $100 million to help resettle illegal immigrants, are they worried about humanitarian concerns or are they actually worried about their bottom line? We are going to enforce immigration law. We're going to protect the American people.
Yeah.
Donald Trump promised to do that. And I believe the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, if they're worried about the humanitarian costs of immigration enforcement, let them talk about the children who have been sex trafficked because of the wide open border of Joe Biden.
You personally
let them
support
talk about
them going into
people like
schools
Laken
and
Riley
churches.
who were brutally murdered. I support us doing law enforcement against violent criminals, whether they're illegal immigrants or anybody else, in a way that keeps us safe. Let me ask this question, Margaret. Let's separate the immigration issue. If you had a violent murder in a school, of course I want law enforcement to go and get that person out.
Of course.
So what's the point of the question?
You changed the regulation this week. That's the point of the question.
Exactly.
Giving the authority to go into churches and go into schools.
We empowered law enforcement to enforce
but
the
that
law
also
everywhere
has
to protect Americans.
Effect, a chilling effect, arguably, to people to not send their kids to school.
I desperately hope it has a chilling effect on illegal immigrants coming
into our country. You think the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops are actively hiding criminals?
I think the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops has frankly not been a good partner in common sense immigration enforcement that the American people voted for. And I hope, again, as a devout Catholic, that they'll do better.
JD's too good. Look, you can still have respect for the dignity of another person while also upholding a just law of the land. These are not mutually exclusive. It is precisely the primary role of the federal government to enforce laws that keep the American people safe. It is, in fact, their moral duty to do so. This is not just a Catholic problem either. This is a Christian problem. These leaders have time and time again aligned themselves with the Democrat agenda and then tell us that we need to take them seriously because they are the ones guided by the Holy Spirit. So, is complete open borders the Holy Spirit guided policy of the church now? Holding people accountable to the law goes against what Christ taught? Does Christ and the church not have laws that we must abide by? And is there not punishment for not abiding by those laws? Is having no standards or boundaries now the official position of the church? Surely not. The problem with this is every time we get misaligned leadership by church leaders, the left uses it as ammunition. And great job by JD shutting it down here.